You are staring at a blinking cursor inside this claustrophobic 6x6 room in Karol Bagh, New Delhi. You've convinced yourself that a 90% score on a standardized test is your only ticket out of generational stagnation. But you are a casualty of a mathematical illusion. You are running a race engineered to keep you running. You have been gaslit into believing that this absolute devotion to a textbook is a noble, self-chosen destiny. It's not. It is a beautifully packaged socio-economic sinkhole. Without this context, your 20s dissolve here in a 6,000 rupee a month, windowless partition, memorizing Indian polities, numb to the fact that the entire apparatus is a historical fossil. Your brain deploys fierce psychological defenses to tell you everything is fine. But the system doesn't need your brilliance. It scales on your submissiveness. A silent notification flashes on your WhatsApp. Your 5th rejection letter from the civil services. 5 years of your youth. Deleted in a single text message. You don't riot. You don't protest. The system has weaponized your own cultural concept of karma against you. It tells you this failure is a spiritual deficit, a personal sin. So, you flip the page, open a new mock test, and willingly step back onto the treadmill. To understand how the modern Indian middle class fell into this trap, we have to look at the architectural blueprint of this engine. In 1854, Lord Macaulay designed the Indian civil service under British rule. The Empire didn't build a governance machine. They engineered a hyper-rigid bureaucratic filter. The objective was simple: use a tiny, fiercely loyal native elite to domesticate a subcontinent of hundreds of millions. The British left in 1947, but they left behind the ghost of the collector, institutionalized in the exact same psychological power dynamics. By the 1970s, that ghost offered an intoxicating charm. A government clerk making 400 rupees a month could comfortably sustain 3 generations, secured with a lifelong pension under a tightly protected permit system. That golden era is long gone, but the deep-seated obsession with the state apparatus has been passed down to your generation, completely intact. In 1991, liberalization opened the markets. It fits perfectly over the country's ancient caste structures. Historically, the upper echelons of the bureaucracy were monopolized by those with the cultural capital to pass these hyper-academic literary screens. Today, despite structural reservations, the barrier to entry has simply shifted from social caste to economic caste. Building a wall that is just as impenetrable. More brilliantly, it hijacks your internal religious wiring. When the exam's algorithm crushes you, your psychological defenses immediately reframe a systemic economic failure into personal karma. You don't blame the macroeconomic landscape for failing to generate employment. You don't question a state that funnels millions of graduates into a zero-sum bottleneck. You simply conclude that something is fundamentally wrong with your soul. This structural containment is not unique to the Indian subcontinent. Throughout global economic history, this exact pattern recurs whenever a nation fails to match a demographic explosion with high-value industrial employment. Look at late 19th century Britain, where the introduction of the Northcote Trevelyan reforms established a hyper-competitive civil service exam. This system channeled an entire generation of educated yet underemployed Victorian youth into mundane clerical roles, effectively draining their radical energy and suppressing potential urban revolutions. An even more haunting mirror appeared in 1990s Japan after the asset price bubble burst. As corporations locked their gates to fresh graduates, initiating the infamous employment ice age, millions of young Japanese retreated into absolute, decades-long isolation. This birthed a permanent structural underclass of hikikomori and precarious freelancers, leaving an entire society frozen in a broken M-shaped stagnation. Today, the UPSC machine operates on the exact same psychological frequency, just as modern gig platforms use precise algorithmic surveillance to extract physical labour. This exam system keeps over 1 million highly educated, potentially disruptive minds, completely stagnant, docile, and self-blaming during their most creative years. Yet the economic desperation of modern Indian aspirants reveals an even more precarious crisis. While a 1980s middle-class family could sustain years of exam preparation on a single public sector salary, candidates in 2026 are forced to rely on high-leverage credit to pay for the 150,000 rupee annual coaching fees and soaring slum rents. Your parents are forced to dip into diminishing retirement pools or turn to high-interest loans. You are liquidating capital your family doesn't possess to buy a lottery ticket with a 99.9% failure rate. You sacrifice compound interest and the critical wage growth of your early career. By the time you hit your late 20s, your resume is a blank sheet of paper marked by 5 consecutive rejections. Your economic value in the private market has permanently depreciated, severing you forever from the middle-class dream your parents broke themselves to buy. When the dust settles, you realize the grim reality. The system didn't break. It worked with cold, deliberate efficiency. The exam does not exist to select leaders. It exists to manage a surplus generation of educated underemployed, converting a systemic macroeconomic failure into a silent, isolated, exhausted obedience. You sit on a broken plastic chair outside a roadside stall, sipping a lukewarm 12 rupee chai. Your phone buzzes with a text from your father asking about the next semester's fees. You don't feel panic anymore, just a cold, empty numbness. Around you, thousands of hollow eyes stare at the same current affairs magazines, waiting for a miracle that the macroeconomy fundamentally cannot provide. The river of history flows outward, but inside this colonial pressure cooker, time is frozen. You crush the plastic cup, toss it into an overflowing bin, and walk back to your cell. You sit down, pull a fresh notebook from the stack, and write the date of your 6th attempt. The machine grinds on.